Hey, so today's video is about how to overcome addictions, right? And you might have a variety of addictions. We all deal with things at a certain point in time in life. A lot of the popular ones these days are explicit videos, consumption of alcohol, drugs, weed, etc., or procrastinating, or this, that, the other. Sometimes addictions can also be dealing with people that we know we shouldn't be dealing with, and we have a link between all of these things, right? Maybe you have multiple of these. The question is, what links these things, right? And we come to find out is that I'll speak for myself at least. I realized that I was the link between all the different things that I felt like I was addicted to, right? And there comes a question where you're like, well, what am I really looking for by doing these things? Because it can't be for no reason, right? we it wouldn't make any sense. It'd be too easy to be like, oh well, just because I like it, I'm doing this every day. Because I like it, I keep thinking about this all the time. And it's like when it becomes something that you do, um, more than anything else, when it becomes a thing that you do regularly every day, and you claim that it's for no reason, now this thing has power over you and not the other way around, right? It's important to realize, when are we being led by the action and when are we doing this action on purpose. And this was a conversation that I was having with a friend, and this is why I'm making this video, because I think it might be valuable to a lot of us, to a lot of people out there. um, the reality that I've noticed is that in all of these addictions, what we seem to be looking for is a question of connection. We seem to, for example, people who drink, right? You'll see that people who drink tend to hang together. People that smoke tend to hang together, and people don't want to drink alone. I'd rather not smoke by themselves, or they'd rather do all these things together. There's other things such as explicit videos where people go for models, or influencer, Instagram models that they find to be attractive, and they sort of try to find somebody which speaks to them. And then from there, you realize that all these things always bring back to this idea of connection, right? Every time, for example, if you look at people who take drugs or smoke and stuff, you got to realize that at the first time they did so, it had to be for a reason that is outside of themselves, right? It had to be for, my friend pressuring me to do so, or it looks cool and I want to fit in. I don't want to look like the loser, so let me just do this. Because until that point in time, there was this ice and something on the other side, right? And so for you to cross this, it had to be for something more than the experience, because you have no idea what this experience is about. So what I'm trying to point out is that the origin of a lot of these things comes from an outside motive. Once you realize this, and you realize that, well, that motive seems to always be about this connection with people. If I don't do this, I might not have the connection with them. Like, take this drug, this pill, this drink, whatever. Now, when you start to be aware that it's about connection, now you have something to work with or try to look for. When you find yourself in these times, you realize, okay, I'm looking for this. Now you can be more conscious about it. Now you can be like, okay, well, how can I find connection, this what I'm looking for, in a way that's more sustainable, that's not, threatening to my progress in other areas in life, which is not consuming me, but rather allows me to move forward and grow. And then you can start to think about things that you do that make you feel closer to yourself. Things that when you do them, you feel like you recognize yourself in them, and also you forget time as it passes by. And this is what I was telling my friend, is make a list. Okay, I like to run, I like to check car magazines, and I like to cook. You have 3 now, right? It could be 5, it could be 7, it could be 10. But you have these activities that you do and put you in flow state, like they say, right? You forget time as it passes by until a certain point. And then, now that you have these things and you look at them, you have these lists, the next question is, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you spending time doing these things, yet you know that these things bring you closer to yourself. You know that these things give you a sense of what is it like to be you, and the combination of them and how you do them, they all play a role into shaping you, who you are, and they bring that into the world, and you get a stronger connection with that, right? It's like, why don't you do these things? It brings me to this topic, which is a TED talk that I've seen, and it was about drug addicts and how, I think it was in New Zealand, and how in the program there, basically, they wouldn't seclude people who were arrested for drug crimes or possession of drugs. This is a loose explanation, but long story short is that they wouldn't just, put them aside away from society, but they would integrate them into society, and they realized that that's what that when they were within society and part of, like, part of a group, a collective, they had a way easier time overcoming addiction. And it goes to support my point, is that the sense of connection that we seek, it's not wrong. And when we start to look at these vices, right, not as an evil thing and blame ourselves and feel guilty about them, but rather look at them from a standpoint of compassion, then our relationship with this issue is a lot less tainted by us being evil and stuff like that. And we start to understand ourselves, and we can put that attention and this effort towards something which is more building of our character and who we are, and brings us more clarity rather than confusion. And we can do it in a way that's more, helpful towards moving ourselves forward. And so that's where these activities, the list that we made, can give us this sense of connection within. And it has to start within, so that when we go into the world and we talk to people and we interact with people, there is a sense of us being present, because we are a lot more in tune with what is it like to be us. Then from there we can have and share this energy with people, not directly but indirectly. People, as they talk to us, will have a sense of, damn, this is actually somebody. It's not just a diluted version of someone. This is actually somebody who cares about themselves, because that's what it is to do these things. Is that, why don't you give yourself this attention? Why don't you give yourself this validation? Why don't you give yourself the encouragements to go and chase these activities which make you feel good truly, right? Rather than going to search for them outside, because that's what it is really. It's this connection that we see and look for people is temporary. That's how you can separate between the two. This one, the ones which from the list, those ones are long term. They're not just momentarily. And then to the day, they and outside and further up beyond the point where you do these activities, the effect carries with you. Whereas if you go and watch a video, an explicit video or a porn, whatever you want to call it, or if you go and take drugs and you go and consume whatever, or smoke, or whatever it is that you do, the effect of those things is only when you do them, and then you don't carry anything with you, in your actual interactions which matter in life, right? They don't bring you clarity. See? So now you can start to differentiate both. There's clarity on this side, on these actions which are good. There's confusion on this side, right? There's instant gratification here, and there's post, there's long-term gratification on this side. And then you can do this separation between the two and realize where is time worth spending. And it's a lot easier to realize that you're not evil. You're just putting this attention and this misplaced attention here rather than here. It's a lot easier to change habits when you look at it like that, right? And you start to look at your life more as a set of ideas rather than small circumstances, and hide behind the idea that you have all these clinical problems of being addicted to this and that and the other. And you can just look at it as a set of ideas, and that your attention is misplaced, and that you think that this will bring you the solution that you're looking for to give you a higher quality, a sense of life or self. And and clarity in life, and things to cope with the world around you. But in actuality, it's not going to bring you answers, this instant gratification. But these things will, and they might seem pointless. They might seem like, well, who cares about cooking, or who cares about this, that, the other? But you care, and that in itself should be enough for you to care, to give you the space, give yourself the space to care about it as well. And this is where self-love comes into play. And then if you want connection with people, well, this is how it's gonna have to start. Not by going out there and seeking the external validation, the external attention, the external, people to give you space outside, and whatever the case may be. And so I hope that this was a concise idea to just differentiate between the good habits and the bad. And it's important to write these things down, right? If you watch this video and you feel like this makes sense, and you have this feeling of, yo, that might actually, you're right, I might actually do this. Right now, take your phone, move this app, go on the notes, and start to write down what you understand from this, because that's how it works. You learn about something, you understand it first, then you accept it and apply it. So this is the learning part. Understanding is you to sit with it. Accepting it is bring it into your life. And that's what the writing would do, is the acceptance part, is the acknowledgement of what is it that you are actually right now doing, how you're operating right now. And by the awareness, right, being the first step, not trying to change everything at once, step by step, we can start to create change in our lives, and change the bad habits for better ones. And I think that in itself can change and make us overcome the addictions that we have. And next time you find yourself in a moment where you're at the bridge of going back to your old ways, or back to something that you don't actually want to do, you know that you're going to feel bad afterwards. Tell yourself this thing, which is, I'm looking for connection right here. I don't actually want to do this. I'm looking for connection. And if you can just say that to yourself at that moment, even if you fail, the next time you'll get it, and you won't fall for that trick after X amount of times, depending on your situation. But always fall forward. That's already closer to your goal than to stay where you were. So anyways, I hope that this was helpful, that it makes sense, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.